Brightspace is the LMS that helps you reach every learner. It makes teaching and learning easier by letting you focus on what's most important, your students and their experience. You can start building courses quickly by simply dragging and dropping content into them. And even create content right in the system, like adding images or videos with just a few clicks. The responsive interface looks great on a laptop, tablet, or smartphone, and it works on any device. Brightspace also lets you teach the way you want. Built-in communication tools let you create a connected learning experience with homepage news feeds, online discussions, and web conferencing. And whether you're fully online, blended, or flipped, Brightspace lets you use lots of different pedagogical approaches, like competency-based education and gamification. It helps you work smarter too. Built-in analytics lets you quickly check on how everyone in the class is doing. You can also dive deeper to review individual performance in more detail. And with smart rules and smart tools, you can automatically trigger activities based upon what a student does or doesn't do to personalize their learning experience. Easy, flexible, smart. That's Brightspace.
Hello again from Lebanon, everyone. It's Hiba Ballout, Head of Secondary Cycle and Science Coordinator at St. George Schools. Today, as we are back to schools after more than a year and a half, teachers from all over the world are getting ready to welcome their students in classrooms, in real classrooms. With the new normal, nowadays we are grateful to all what we have and will acquire in the coming days regarding all the techniques that we've developed throughout our journey in this profession. Before we start our very interesting educational talk for today, I invite you all to share your insights regarding going back to schools. And of course, don't forget to mention from what country you are. I would also like to invite you all to go ahead and register to the World Educational Week if you haven't done yet. The huge virtual educational celebration of schools that will take place starting from next week. T4TV today, with a great pleasure, welcomes my very dear friend, Kavita Sanghvi, who is a Teach SDGs, Science Text, and Varkey Teacher Ambassador. Kavita is a National Geographic certified educator with 20 years of experience in teaching and 10 years in leadership position. She is currently serving as the principal of Chatrabhuj Narsee Memorial School. She's a British Council ambassador and, of course, a trainer who has trained teachers all across India. Kavita has received numerous awards, both nationally and internationally, for her leadership and teaching skills. You are most welcome to T4TV, Kavita.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Throughout our discussion, please feel free to leave your insights and even questions in the comments. Kavita, let's just start our discussion. Well, the word gamification started to appear, I guess, on 2003, if I wasn't mistaken. However, we know that the Russian chemist Dmitry Mendeleev has created the periodic table on 1869 using gamification without even him knowing it. I guess by 2010, and with all the conferences and the speakers who spotlighted gamification, it began really to take off. What is gamification, Kavita, and what is it all about in education?
So first of all, let me tell you, all the teachers, educators sitting out there, you all have been using gamification in education, but you did not know about it. So what is gamification? It's just using game-based elements inside your class. For example, peer scoring, collaboration, teamwork, score tables. So all these are something that you've been using in and out in your classroom environment. Like, let me take an example. You wanted to make students learn addition. So you got a pack of cards and you told the students, take any 3 cards and they should be adding up to 10. And therefore your students came up with those, combinations. Now you told them, let's go to a virtual platform, because obviously, as Hiba has been mentioning, we have been on a virtual platform for past many, many months. So you took them to a virtual platform and you asked them to do a similar game on that platform. Once again, it was nothing but gamification, where when the student got something, they were given some rewards or badges, and it all increased the students' engagement and the motivation.
Okay, so here what we are going to talk about in a couple of minutes. I mean, because I've once said that according to some researchers, gamification is one of the top 10 must-have features in the learning management system. And I've once heard you saying that. So, in your opinion, Kavita, to what extent do you believe that it's an important technique to be involved or integrated in the learning methodology? Of course, I'm talking about gamification in general.
So it is something that you have, like as in a class, you can't go with the same kind of methodology because the students are going to get bored. So as a
Mhm.
teacher, you have to be creative all the time. So if one day I've gone in for my normal demonstration classes, the next day I need to bring in some game-based elements inside my class. I could have an assessment which is game-based. So I need to have that kind of creativity and new thing every now and then. And that is why gamification is very, very important. If you want to sustain your learning over a longer period of time, you want to understand your students' emotional, mental mindset over a longer period of time, you want to support your students for further, deeper learning, then gamification does support all of that.
Perfect. So, and a quick reminder, of course, to our audience, feel free to leave your questions to Kavita, and of course, we'll try our best to answer them. Because you were talking about creativity, Kavita, today, when we talk about developing our classrooms from traditional ones into interactive classes, of course, you know that most of teachers go under the slogan of learning through fun. So some teachers gamify their classrooms while others just apply some games in their learning methodology. And here there's this misconception between both techniques. So just let's clarify this. How is gamification different from game-based learning methodology?
Yes, that's a very important thing. So, what is game-based learning? It's basically an active learning experience within which has a game framework, and you have a clear outline, clear objectives. What I want to gain out of this game. For example, if you remember, Hiba, we used to play the Queen of Sheba, you know,
Mhm.
and what sort of certain. If I want to, it takes a primary class. I want to teach division and I have a class of 40 students. So I play the Queen of Sheba game. So I know I use the game as an objective that I want to teach division through this game. And then a class of 40, I say, now students quickly make groups of four. So then when they make group of four, among 40 divided by 4, so there are 10 groups, and students know that the divisor is what is the divisor with the quotient and the remainder. There's no remainder here. And I say now, Queen of Sheba wants you in groups of 3 and
Mm.
you have 40 students and then you have to divide it by 3 so you know what's going to happen, how many groups are going to be there. You're going to have 13 groups and one remainder. So you're taking this game to actually teach your students division. So
Mhm.
this is a game-based learning. But when you're doing gamification, it's adding game-based elements inside a class. For example, I'm trying to bring in collaboration. I'm trying to bring in rewards. I'm trying to bring in some kind of activity within the students. So let me take a very good example. If I want to use a game-based gamification, I
Mm.
have a class of 40 and I tell my students, I'm making two groups. One group is Avengers group, the other group is the X-Men group. Now, you two have to create a town, and I'm going to give you a particular time limit, and I'm going to be giving you rewards at the end at which group finishes first. And while making the town, you have to ensure that if there's a common area that you're coming across, you're working it out. So in
Mhm.
that particular gamification, when they're working it out, they're studying that thing, they're making a town. There is competition, there's rewards, there is uh, graphics, there is so many things involved in this. So this is gamification. You've gotten a lot of elements coming in, and there you are actually playing a game.
Perfect. So, in between parentheses, Kavita, what's your favorite methodology? I mean, do you prefer to have gamification in classroom or game-based learning in classes, or both? Maybe I don't know.
So it depends upon my concepts. If I had to
Okay.
teach division, I would take a game. If I have to bring in some kind of inquiry based learning inside my classroom, then I would definitely use gamification. So, for some
Mm.
scientific exploration or scientific research, then gamification is what I would bring in to ensure that all my students got into research.
Great, great. And this makes us come to this question. I mean, from our experience, both of us as teachers, but I want your opinion on this. We know very well that there are few times when things do not happen as we expect, you know. So, of course, there are cases where gamification is not a good idea. When do you think we should say no to gamification in our classroom?
So if gamification has become, when you overdo anything, then
Mm-hmm,
it's not a
mm-hmm,
good idea. So if you are having students depend upon extrinsic motivation compared to intrinsic motivation, then that it's not a good idea. So
mm-hmm,
rewards, badges for some time is good. But if it's that's the end thing for all the time, then learning is somewhere lost in the process. If everything is compared to, say, for example, I have student A and student B, and if student A has got a lot of rewards, but student B has not got that many rewards, and then student A says, feels that, if I've got that many rewards, I'm very intelligent, you don't have, so maybe you're not that level. That kind of difference should not come up. So if that is something that you're going to be discussing and applauding in class, then it's going to lead to a different mindset in the children.
mm-hmm,
So when you do gamification, you have to think of many other parameters: intrinsic motivation versus extrinsic motivation, not overdo anything, and at the end, how are the students valuing the rewards and things that they're getting out of it.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Great. So I can see also some people interacting with us from Iraq and from several countries, like, for example, Brazil, Philippines, and so on. So just let's continue this. And also, I'm going to remind the audience, just leave questions to Kavita whenever you feel that. Kavita, as a principal today in school and from your training experience, because of course you have interacted with several teachers and students in India and even beyond that, you sure have a good idea regarding how to take teaching into the next level through best practices in gamification, particularly in this domain. In few steps, briefly also, how can teachers today best gamify their classrooms, in your opinion?
So I would suggest 9 elements to make sure that your gamification in class brings in fruitful results. First of all, have certain rules inside your classroom for gamification. So if
Mhm,
I've considered this is the rule that it is your, the badges are not to be used to compare each other,
mm,
or I will not, if you have something like I said about team A, Avengers versus X-Men, and it's not something to bring another person down, or I will not fight it out, I will discuss it out. So rules are very important. Most second important thing is a goal. From this gamification, what is your goal? Why have I used this gamification? Not just for the sake of using it. I need to have an objective. Through this using gamification aspect, I want to bring in collaboration within my students. I want to increase communication within my students, or I want the students to get acclimatized to this online platform. Strategy. Another very important thing, because as teachers, we are always having a huge curriculum to work with.
mm,
So, what is the
true.
strategy of using it? Are you going to take a one period or a double period, or what is it that your strategy of going about with the gamification? Are you clear with your outline of what platform or what resources you will require inside your classrooms for doing a couple of things? So, your strategy of achieving it. Next is the achievement. When the students are using this, for example, you have divided them into 4 or 5 groups, and you said that I want to know who comes out first. Then what is the achievement that you want? Is it just completing the game or completing that task, or are you asking them that to improve the task? So, what is a benchmark that you're leaving out here? Next is a mastery. If child has finished a couple of things, are they going to another level or not? For example, if we are doing teaching, say, coding, we have gone from one level, then they need to go to another level, a third level. So you need to go in for levels or scaffolding out here. I've
Mhm,
particularly finished this part of, say, algebra. I need to go for a higher level of algebra. Very, very important factor is fun. I need to really have fun with this.
mhm,
And both
mhm,
teacher and student needs to have fun with it. So fun is a very, very important element. Collaboration. When I bring in gamification, I need to make sure it is not individual working with each other, but it is actually a group working with each other as a teamwork. Because that's what, apart from this, I want to bring in values,
mhm,
attitudes. So this is what I'm building through it. And when you're doing gamification, another aspect is progress. How are you measuring your child's progress? So if I've got
Yeah,
to a
this is
particular
important.
level, have you recorded what the student's progress is at every level? And then when you go for the second level, is a child improving or is a child deteriorating? And what are your steps for remediation? And last and very important is appreciation. Because as teachers, you want appreciation. So imagine how much appreciation your students want. So you need to appreciate the kind of work that they bring forth on the table. So feedback and appreciation go hand in hand here. How is your feedback also coming along? So these are a couple of things that is very, very important to ensure that gamification is successful in your class.
Great, great. Honestly talking, you were talking about all this, and I was just thinking, especially that here in Lebanon, we are back to schools, and we were thinking just how students are going to have fun again in schools and how they are going to gain their self-confidence after like 1 year and a half, if not more, at home. So I guess this is one of the important strategies that we need to apply. What do you advise all teachers today as they are going to schools in your very final statement, Kavita?
So the same thing, we also in India will be opening after 17 months, and next week is when we are going to see our
Wow.
students. So I think we all need to take one day at a time.
Mhm.
We need to first come back and see what our children are desiring, where they were earlier, and what is it today, and find out the gaps in learning, and then review those gaps and then come up with a strategy and a plan to go ahead. So I would just suggest that take one day at a time because we've really gone through tough times. We need to
Very
applaud
true.
ourselves and not create such huge goals or something. I think stepwise is what we need to go for.
Very true, Kavita. Thank you so much today for giving us the time to discuss this very interesting topic, honestly. May you always be an inspiration to teachers and students, not only in India, but also worldwide at the personal level, even. Wish you all the best of luck for the new academic year. Any final statement?
No, as I said, I'm just so happy that finally we're coming back to some sort of normalcy, and I wish everybody all the best.
Of course, dear audience, don't forget to visit T4 Education website in order to register to the World Educational Week and know more about the amazingly inspiring events of 120 schools from all over the world. Meanwhile, thank you for joining us. And as always, all the love from Lebanon to the world. Stay safe. Bye bye.